Now, had you reviewed the contract prior to Juanita signing it, what things maybe you would have been looking for to make sure that she was protected so she didn't have this issue that she's facing?
The 3 or 4 biggest items. In Juanita's case, she needed to sell her home. I would have made it contingent on the sale of her home. Number 2, contingent on mortgage financing. One never knows if a house will appraise properly or if the person buying it really can qualify for the mortgage they want. And then 3, a requirement that it be inspected for mold, mildew, repairs, and of course 4th for the title, examination of the title.
I think obviously in this case, since it's new construction, the biggest issue is, making sure that her mortgage, which she needs to qualify for, she met all the terms and conditions of the commitment, one of which is to sell her house.
Right. Well, you've got one big problem with the developers. They don't want to give you a mortgage contingency. They don't want to wait till the unit's finished, CO'd, ready to close, to find Juanita or someone else can't get their mortgage. They put the onus on you to make that your problem.
Well, then probably her best situation should have been sell your place, then go buy another place.
Or go get a mortgage, make a mortgage application in advance, get a commitment letter to know what she could afford to buy and whether the sale of the house would have stopped the lender from giving her a loan.
Look, the truth is, in these situations, you only need an attorney, in this case, when things go bad.
Like everything, sure.
And, unfortunately, we're dealing with that a little bit. So, thanks for your comments on
My
this.
pleasure.
Great.
In the next reenactment, we'll see what happens when a homeowner runs into financial difficulties, has a problem paying their mortgage or debts. We'll see what options are available to that person.
Alan, what happened?
It's a tale of woe. I moved down here about 9 months ago from New England and bought a house. My family moved in. My kids were all angry because we relocated.
Right, of course.
About a month and a half after that, I'm driving up I-95 and I get into a terrible accident, and I haven't been able to work for the last 6.5 months or so, and I got credit card payments due, and I got my mortgage due, and the money is going to take.
Everybody's calling.
The phones are ringing just like on that TV ad.
Yeah, well, do you remember when you closed? Did you remember getting homesteaded? That's a word that that at the closing they usually use because you make application for some protection. Do you remember if you did that or?
Well, nobody explained anything about homestead to me, but it is my primary residence. It's where my family and I live.
Clearly that'll help you, but the homestead allows you certain protection, except for a few things like not paying your real estate taxes or mechanics liens and some other things. So are you current on your real estate taxes?
Yeah, the taxes were paid from the closing, so I don't have anything.
It's going to be soon that you have to pay again, which is, the discount amount I think is in November, so obviously you'd want to make that happen. Probably the best advice I can give you, at least at this point, is let's talk to Larry Fetter. He knows the ins and outs of this, and we'll see what he has to say and see if we can make sense of this and make some of this go away for you.
Sounds great.
Okay, great. In Alan's situation, too often this it kind of breaks my heart. I mean, the poor guy moves from up north. He's from New England. Forget the fact that he's a Red Sox fan. And he moves down, coming to the sunshine, moves his family down. A few of the kids were kicking and screaming. And then all of a sudden, everything changes. He gets in a car accident, injures his, I think it was his arm or his shoulder. You saw he was in the sling. And now he hasn't been able to work. I don't think he had disability because, he was, he's an entrepreneur, so he was buying his own business, which, he unfortunately had to close. And he's just late on everything. And I'm seeing this, not a lot, but I'm starting to see more and more this same theme because, as you know, one of the biggest assets a lot of people have, if it's not their business, it's their home. So, in looking at that scenario, he's late on his mortgage. I think his real estate taxes are current. He has major credit card debt because he's using, all of those vehicles to try and just pay the bills. I think he has one kid in college. So what do you do?
Well, the state of Florida considers people's right to have a home paramount. When the Florida Constitution was drafted back in the 1890s, they instituted the Homestead Act. And it covers a very wide wide topic of items, but one of the most important ones is the protection against forced sale. What that means is if I owe you money, and I have a home with my family, and it's my homestead, and I owe you $10,000, you get a judgment against me. You can't throw me out of my house. The state of Florida wanted to make sure people could keep their homestead, raise their families, have a roof over their head. There are some exceptions. If you don't pay your taxes, don't pay your mortgage, or have a mechanic's lien, a plumber come in to work on your house, doesn't get paid, you could lose your house for any one of those three reasons. Alan's got a lot of the debt because of the credit cards. For purpose of keeping the house right now, that's not a problem. The mortgage could be a problem because obviously Florida didn't want banks to suffer. They're lending money to people and the thought of them not, having their investment to rely on. So as long as he keeps the mortgage current, he's okay. You can go a couple of years late on your taxes and not lose your house. And so in that respect, he can keep a roof over his head until things settle out.
Now, here on the radio, a lot of times, a lot of these, credit card workout companies that do you ever get involved in those things in conjunction with trying to maybe talk to the lender and trying to work out a payment plan? I mean, is that something that's, available? It
is. Very often you'll tell your mortgage lender and they see your history and they see what happened to you and they see that in the past you've been a good credit risk and they know you'll be healed up in 2 months. They might say, we'll withhold making payments for 2 months and maybe accelerate the payments towards the end of the loan, or maybe they'll refinance the entire debt so you can start from scratch. The bank does not want your house.
No, they don't want to be in the real estate business.
No, it's too expensive and too costly. But if they know that you're not a bad risk, they will work with you and try to stretch it out within, some kind of real means.
It's amazing. In these scenarios, you would think that every time someone gets in this situation, that their house would be for sale. And I cannot tell you how many situations I have where the person, I get a call, list my house, I really need to sell it. They're foreclosing on me in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And you would think that most people would have maybe in advance of that tried to sell their house to get as much equity out of their house so they can use that to live. But, I guess it gets back to, your home is your castle. And they want to stay in their home and keep their family as intact as possible as it relates to where they're living.
And they don't really believe they're going to lose their home. Something's going to happen. And it happens, but you got to hope for the best. But there are remedies. There's ways to delay things. And banks really are not as they portray in the movies, cold-hearted. They see the situation. They don't want your house. They want their mortgage paid off.
So I think, to kind of wrap this, the commentary on this is that if you take a logical approach and you get someone like yourself to speak to the different parties that are maybe creditors, and mm-hmm. you can probably work something out. Exactly. Or at least buy them some time and give them some objective counsel how to handle it. Because when you get to that point, there's a huge amount of emotion involved. There's emotion in buying, and there's certainly emotion when, your back is up against the wall. And, I hate to see that situation.
It's terrible, and it really shouldn't happen, but it's,
Okay, well, thanks. Okay. Great.